Hello and welcome to Financial Planning for Canadian Business Owners. I'm your host, Jason Pereira. Today on the show is a different one. Specifically, I decided that I need to help you find better advice. And what I'm doing with that, besides just profiling good advisors doing great work, is that I have welcomed on three different organizations where basically great advisors, great planners work. And really, what we're going to do is profile each of these three organizations, what they stand for, and why you want to consider working with a member of the organization or someone who holds one of those credentials. And really kind of hopefully educate you on what to look for when you're looking for a planner. And for my first guest, I have Julia Chung, I was going to say CEO, but I forgot that's not the title. The president, I should know this, the president of the
I'm
Financial
not,
Planning Association of Canada. Sorry?
I'm not the president, I'm the chair.
The chair. Sorry, we changed a bunch of titles after I stepped down.
You
So,
did. Yeah.
yes. So, Julia Chung, the chairperson of the Financial Planning Association of Canada, and a longtime friend. Julia, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. This isn't scary at all.
You know I don't bite, even though many people think I do. All right. So, Julia Chung with the Financial Planning Association of Canada. Tell us about the Financial Planning Association of Canada.
Wow. It's this great organization that me and my friend Jason founded a handful of years back. I think a lot of people ask the question, do we need yet another organization around financial advisors in Canada? And I would say, by and large, the answer is no. There's too many. We're very fractionalized. So why would we choose to do this? And the reason why we chose to do this was because we saw that there were a lot of really great financial planners, and of course, I mean planners specifically, who want to do a really great job serving clients very well and want to elevate what that means, want to represent financial planning as a true comprehensive profession, separate from providing investment advice, insurance advice, tax advice, legal advice, all those kinds of things, but instead actually recognizing that the profession of bringing all of those things together is in and of itself an expertise. And the organization works to elevate not only the professionals who do this by providing lots of great education and community and support, but also lobbying to regulators and government organizations about what it actually means when they're putting together their policies and regulations and using the word financial planning.
Excellent. Thank you. So, all right, talk to me about membership. What does it take for someone to be a member of the FPAC? We'll just start using the short acronym. And what are the obligations of membership?
Well, we have a couple of different levels of membership, and our main full membership is somebody who is an active financial planner and holds the basic required designations, which would be the CFP designation from FP Canada. That's kind of, I've always said that's table stakes for being a financial planner. That's kind of the bare minimum. We also have student memberships for people who are growing in the field and wanting to learn, and that is very inexpensive because we want to influence the next generation really well. We have an affiliate membership for those people who work with financial planners in supporting roles, whether that's through education, technology, those kinds of things. And then, of course, we have a retired membership as well, people who have moved on from financial planning full-time in their work, but don't want to lose their edge and still have lots to give to the community. And the main requirements are, of course, that, you've got the basic designations, you believe, of course, in the profession of financial planning, and most importantly, you're prepared to commit to our fiduciary oath, which you can find on our website.
So let's talk about the importance of that. So fiduciary, for those unfamiliar with the term, is the single highest standard when it comes to law in terms of the obligation of one professional to the people they are serving. So you're held to account at a higher level and even to liability at a higher level. A fiduciary violating or stealing from someone basically is actually penalized more than just the average person stealing from someone, rightly so, because you're in a position of, let's say, privilege, but a position of authority and guidance and an obligation to live up to it. So talk to me about what the industry is like by default when it comes to fiduciary standards and why we felt the need to basically create this pledge.
Yeah, I mean, the concept of fiduciary is can be confusing because, of course, there's the fiduciary in law in the United States, and then there's fiduciary in law in Canada, and that gets confusing for a lot of people. But in the industry in general says that it wants advisors in the financial world to look after the best interests of their clients. And that is by and large a lower standard than a fiduciary obligation. And I think Michael Kitces calls it the difference between an off the rack suit and one that's tailored to you. And, when we're working directly with clients in the way that we do, if they're paying us for our expertise in whatever way that they do pay us, they are expecting that we're giving them a tailored suit. Right? They're expecting that the advice that they're receiving is unique and special to them, and that we've thought about it and we put the effort in and made it about them first and foremost and not about ourselves.
Yeah. I think one of the ways I've described in the past is if you went and basically pulled people in Canada off the street and said, do you believe your financial advisor has an obligation to act in your best interest at all times and put you first? I think the answer overwhelmingly would be yes, or I sure as heck hope so. That's the reality. But unfortunately, it is not, right? Suitability is not the same thing as always putting the client's needs first. And that's an important differentiator. Now, again, a organization like a voluntary organization, like an FPAC, it's not a regulator, can't impose a fiduciary standard, but you can hold your members to it and basically educate them on what that actually means.
Yeah. And, in trying to elevate the profession into something that we can all be proud of and, really serve our clients really well, just committing to that oath as being part of our membership is, I think, pretty important. It says, I believe that I can go above and beyond, and I'm willing to put myself on the line, liability wise, to serve my clients well. So I'm really proud of what our FPAC members have committed to and continue to commit to.
Yeah, I've always said about some of the things that comes down to when it comes to the fiduciary standard, if your advisor is not willing to, if that's one of the reasons why they're not willing to join the organization, you've got bigger problems.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you say, like, I put all of me behind the advice that I'm giving you. You want that from your advisor.
Yeah. Now, one of the things we did when we first started this process was to look at a number of other organizations around Canada, US, rest of the world, and look at what was working and what wasn't, right? And one of the things that we found was a major issue was that there was a lack of unified vision about what it's meant to be a member, right? So oftentimes it was like, hey, we all do X. Okay, congratulations, you all do X. You're a networking group. What are you trying to achieve, right? And then, oh, this regulatory issue came up. Let's pull everybody in there. Basically the question becomes like maybe the positive thing you want to create or the people who are passionate about this want to create is not possible because a long tail of people don't want it to happen. And now they're worried about losing members. Talk to me about, or the audience, because I know the answer, about how we solve for this problem.
I mean, I think at FPAC, what we've done, and let me know if I'm answering your question properly, but I think what we've done is provided a really clear vision. And as our CEO, Joanna, likes to say, this isn't just a membership organization. This is a movement. And I think that's really, really important. There are industry organizations out there everybody shows up and we've got their little card and we work in the same business. Now we're going to hang out together. That's bare minimum. And then, yes, it becomes a networking organization and maybe some sharing of resources. But we actually have a belief system, a philosophy, and very specific goals around professionalizing financial planning. So if you are part of this organization, that's what you're working towards. You're not just showing up there so you can get a bunch of CE credits, though you do get those, or, so you can access all the brains of the people who are part of the organization, but you do get those. But that's not why you're there. Why you're there is because you want to be part of the group that is changing how professional financial planning advice is provided, what it means to be served well, and improving the knowledge, experience, and advice being provided by all of those people together. That concept of a rising tide raises all boats. Instead of putting a bunch of competitors in the room and saying, fight each other and may the, last person standing win, then we're not trying to create that. we're not trying to create a sole winner. We're trying to create a bunch of winners, because if all of our financial planners become great financial planners who are improving themselves every single day, then the services and advice they're providing to their clients are getting better and better every single day. And every time that you say you're a financial planner, you can be proud of that. And I can know that you're representing me when you say that. And every time I say I'm a financial planner, you can hear that and say, yeah, I'm pretty happy to be in a club with her. That's really important, and I think really meaningful to our members.
Yep, absolutely. And I'll give you the rest of the answer I was looking for. One of the things we did was we created a filtering mechanism, and that filtering mechanism was a unified vision. It was just spelled out in our charter. A unified vision that talks about basically our objectives for creating a world of transparency and disclosure, of creating a world of basic fiduciary standards, one where the professional that is basically being held to or is being holding out as a financial planner is basically seen in the same light as other professions like accountants, lawyers, doctors, whatever else it is, and having the professional education and support in order to do that. And one that also is based on evidence, not one that's based on heuristics. Too much of this industry is based off of like rules of thumb or what this person's belief is. I don't care what your beliefs are. It's nice you have beliefs, but if they're in opposition to facts, you shouldn't be trading. You shouldn't be basically advising clients on your beliefs. You should be advising clients on the facts, right? So, I like to say
And your client's goals and what's meaningful to
exactly.
that person, not what for some reason you're hanging your whole personality against. And I think it's important to note that FPAC is not a regulatory body and it's not a designating body, and we don't intend to be either. And the reason why I think that's important is because when you think about what actually changes a society, yes, regulations, rules, designations, all of those things are important. We have those. But what really changes people's behavior is the influence of their peers. That is what moves the needle on people's behaviors. So we can definitely and should definitely have rules, regulations, and standards in place, of course. But how we change people's behavior is by demonstrating it and showing them the right way. And that's the role of FPAC.
Yeah. And rolling and basically working with the ecosystem that exists in order to make that happen. I mean, one of the things that happened with regulators when we first started speaking to them was, we told them, like, we know what the industry is like. You want to move the bar an inch and they act like you shot them to the heart. And we're telling you, like, look, you don't need to move it an inch, you need to move it a mile. And because this is our unified vision. And frankly, you may have gotten it wrong here and here, but this is how you fix it. And we'll support you on that. And the response was, where have you been all this time? Right. Because like they are just used to, basically the entrenched interests of whatever organizations or money making machines are there that like the status quo. Right. But you're talking about creating higher duty of care. Wait a minute. How's this going to affect sales? That's not what we're here for. So there's that. And then, again, I'll go back to the mechanism of the charter. I like to say when we drafted it, it was like, look, you read the charter and see what I want to create as a professional. Like we're basically saying we want to create the world of unicorns, rainbows, and puppies, right? Like these are all you read these and like, okay, what is wrong with this vision, right? What is wrong with having a highly educated population of professionals based on actual science that basically hold out the client's best interest at heart at all times and basically disclose everything. What is wrong with that vision? If you don't like that vision and you don't want to join because of that vision, congratulations, we filtered you out. Thank you very much. You can see the door. And I don't know that I want to engage with you, right? Unless, I'm happy to have a dialogue about where you think the problems are, but I don't know that you are cut from the same cloth, quite honestly.
And I really have found that the majority of people that I've met, and I won't say it's all of them, but the majority of people I've met who go into working in financial advice in one way or another are doing it because they want to help people. The stories I've heard from financial planners about their own lives experiences, their families, all the people that they've seen impacted by these very difficult decisions that people have to face every day with the complexity of all of their finance and their legal and their taxes and their insurance and their investments. It's really hard, really, really hard decision making. And the majority of people I've met are doing this because they want to help. And I believe really strongly that where the barriers are, it's not coming from the people providing the service. It's coming from the structures that were existed to extract maximum profit from this very, very valuable service. And that is not to say that I have a problem with profit. I am a big fan of money. That's why I'm in a money business. I like money, and I want my clients to have good money as well. But I think there's a place where everybody wins, from the people who are providing the service to the people who are receiving the service. And it doesn't have to be, the snake oil thing.
Yeah, I mean, the industry was born in basically product and sales distribution, right? And financial planning came about because of it. So it's not unusual that these structures are lagging behind in terms of how they basically service clients and how even advisors in the industry see themselves, right? But as we said before, like the impact that we can have in people's lives is immense, right? Like who else sits across from you and proactively says, how do I make your life better? Right? You go to a doctor when you're sick. You go to a lawyer if you have to. You hope never to. You go to an accountant because you have to, right?
Yeah.
But who actually sits there and says, how do I make it better?
100%. And who holds your hand when you're running across something that's really, really difficult? In the newsletter I wrote for my company in December, I gave 3 stories that really impacted me of some of the work I did with clients just in that month. And there was, a family that was dealing with mom who had dementia and dad who had just passed away. Another couple where, well, husband has dementia and wife has to put him into a home. I've got a widow, her husband passed away. I've got families with disabled children. People are making really tough decisions. And it's so important that we're able to give them really good advice that is about the people that they are and the things that are important to them, and that they can find their way through all of these difficult times in their lives, knowing that the money part, which can feel really stressful, knowing that that bit is kind of handled, and then they can move on to dealing with the emotional and relational kind of aspects because they know that this is dealt with. That is huge. It's so impactful to every planner that I have communicated with, and everybody has a story that are like, that's why I'm here. That's
Yeah.
what's important. And those are the people we want to be. I think FPAC makes it possible.
Yeah. Like to say, money is the construct for helping us get what we want out of life. And that's basically it. But at the end of the day, life is messy. So yes, we can very technically handle all of this other stuff. But, our greatest gift is the ability to take the money decision off the table potentially and make sure people are well. I think
Yeah.
of a case I had where one of my favorite clients, a lovely gentleman, came down with this condition that was had dementia and was going to need the need for home care and whatever else. And I basically had his son calls me all worried about how my parents could afford all this, and I'm like, let me talk to your mom. And I call the mom, like, are you okay with me sharing financial details, whatever? Right. Boom. Was able to hop on the call with the son and basically both the boys and put their minds at ease, saying, look, we planned for this. We planned for things going wrong. They're in a great position. He's going to be, your mom and dad are going to be just fine. And the permission for them to just not worry about that, but go just take care of their dad, it was immense.
Yes. That is the difference. And that's why, truly professional financial planning that gives people great guidance, direction, understanding is so much more than what we often see in the industry.
Investing in people's money in different accounts and whatever. I mean, that's a mechanism.
And here's a bunch of charts,
Yeah.
and you're going to be okay. See ya. Buy some stuff. That's not financial planning.
It's when the plan goes wrong, not because of us, but because of life.
Because life will always go wrong. And so, we've got that baseline of, a first kind of starting out plan, and we've got things sorted, and then life goes crazy. And then we say, okay, so how are we going to manage this? Oh, this is how the change that we're talking about will impact that kind of linear approach, which, I think that's where the rubber hits the road when it comes to truly professional financial planning.
I think this is an important message for people listening to this, is that it's not a verb. It's not a noun. It's a verb, right? Too often the plan by many institutions or many people or some in media think, okay, I need this plan. I need this thing. I need this document that tells me what to do. And I always say 2 things. A, we're useless without implementation. So that's the most important part. But secondly, like, it's a snapshot, right? Like, the saying is that it's out of date the second you hand it over, which is partially true. But at the end of the day, the reality is that we have to, that's the baseline. It tells us what to do and things can move them forward. But we have to constantly be updating and adapting that as life throws the curveballs at us. Otherwise, nothing's going to come of it.
Well, one of my favorite things that happened right just at the beginning of the pandemic, I got calls from all of these journalists and I kept getting the same question. How are you planning now that you don't know what's coming next? And the answer was,
When do I ever know what's coming next?
here's the secret. I never did. I am not a fortune teller. And what we are doing when we are planning is taking the information we have today and thinking about what we want in the future and creating a strategy to get there. That's all it is. It's just the best things we can figure out. And I often say, like, think about the next trip that you're planning. You probably know that you're going to need this much gas. You want to make sure your tires are checked. You're packing your clothes. You know you've got stops along the way. And you've got kind of, your safety kit just in case things go wrong. But things will go wrong. There's going to be construction along the road. There's going to be, the next gas station isn't going to have ketchup chips. Who knows? But hopefully you're well equipped to handle those changes as they happen. And you have the ability to take a detour if, there's a sinkhole that opens up in front of you and something needs to change. And that's hopefully your financial planner, if they're doing a great job, is able to be there with you and help you make those tweaks and changes as stuff happens.
That's it, exactly. And ketchup chips are slowly becoming a running joke on this podcast, thanks to Daniel Crosby saying that they're terrible. I'm going to prove him wrong one day. Anyway, so and that's what makes this podcast Canadians, references to things like that.
Either.
He doesn't like coffee crisp?
Well, I'm guessing he doesn't. If you don't like ketchup,
message him after this just to get his opinion.
We should find out if he likes coffee.
I do need to.
Anyway.
Anyway. So let's go back to the organization, okay? So basically, let's talk about what it is. You mentioned a couple of interesting things there, talking about getting access to the big brains of everybody who basically is a member of the organization, talking about the continuing education. Talk to me about what FPAC does there and how that's potentially different than other organizations and how that helps build a better industry.
I think the core thing is like you look at some of the great services we have, and I'll talk through them. But the core thing about it that I absolutely love is we've very thoughtfully and carefully created a community that is psychologically safe. So we have this great online forum where you can go and you can say, hey, I'm working on this, and has anybody run across this before? Or I'm looking for an expert in this, or I'm trying to figure out something. Whatever it is that you're working on, you can go to our forum, you can post your question, and you are going to have some of the very best minds in our profession coming at you with answers, experience, white papers that they've written. We've got, professors who are sharing their expertise. You are getting the highest quality advice for the very specific things that you are working on, and you're being cheered on by the entire community. And the psychological safety component of this is the most important part. If people didn't feel safe saying, hey, I'm running across something and I don't know how to deal with it, we wouldn't get the incredible value that we're getting out of the forum. And I think what's great about our community is that we're all there saying, we know that we don't know everything, that's literally impossible. So we're here to share. And we have all these people who are saying, hey, I've got something to share. And they feel really good about sharing, and they feel really good about asking. So the engagement with our forum is absolutely shocking. The vast majority of our members are on there, either posting, reading, or replying daily. It's really incredible. So sometimes people will ask me, how big is your team when they're talking about working with me? I'm like, I've got hundreds of people on my team. Don't you worry.
Literally, I'm looking at someone who still has admin privileges and is looking at the numbers now. I mean, for a small organization, getting over 15 topics on average per month and over 350 responses and over 15,000 page views. There's a lot of information sharing, collaboration going on there. And it's been, called the single greatest resource in Canadian financial planning, quite honestly. And frankly, maybe close to my heart, but the reality is I challenge someone to find a better one.
You can't. You can't. And I've been on lots of different ones, and there's lots of great forums out there that are fabulous, but there's just something special and unique about this one. And I do think it comes down to the culture that we've created where we are saying, I don't know everything, and that's okay. And I'm going to ask for help because our goal is to improve the financial planning that every Canadian is receiving. And we're doing that by supporting each other. And then the other piece is we've got our monthly education. We have amazing education. I'm so proud of it. Once a month, we have wonderful speakers that come on and talk to us about all kinds of things that are important in financial planning. And we learn more and more. Every year we've got a tax update. We've got a really great accountant that comes on and shares with us every year, things that have changed, stuff we should know. It's super useful and it's very funny. But we have really unique things that people might not think are financial planning related, right? So like our December 2024 was what you need to know about fertility law in Canada.
Mhm.
And I would say that a lot of people might be like, "Well, how is this a financial planning thing?" But let me tell you, it
Was that
is.
December? Or was that me in December? I can't remember.
No, we're in November.
I was in November. Okay, fair enough. That was
Yes.
on
And
big surprise. Financial planning for corporations. Anyway,
JC has been doing a series about financial planning for corporations, but and then, we've got unusual things around law. We've got, strategic planning. We've had risk management. We had all kinds of things. And next year in 2025, really looking forward to, we've got some pretty cool stuff coming. And what's great is the engagement there as well. So the same sort of community feeling that we have in the forum where people feel safe to ask questions and give answers, that happens with every one of our online webinars. We don't ever have enough time for all the questions people ask. And it's so funny because you've hosted these as well. You look in the Q&A and people are answering each other's questions that they're asking people. And just at the end of last year, we finally got the systems in place so that all of our events are recorded. So they were recorded, but now you can actually get CE credits for watching them, watching the recorded version rather than live, which was really exciting. And not only do we have every education event that FPAC has put on, we've actually got all the education events that were put on by FPAC's predecessor organization, the Advice Only Planners Forum. So we've got another about 30 that are being uploaded and added there as well.
fantastic. So basically, now let's say someone wants to work with an FPAC advisor. Where do they go?
Oh, well, you've got a directory. So at fpassociation.ca, just go on to the directory and you can find every single member right there.
Every single member. Perfect. And yeah, I would always also say, never just look at one, look for multiple. And we also do our directory, if I remember correctly, it's the old directory, there's areas of specialization, right? Don't limit yourself based on postal code and city you're in. You can work with someone fantastic from all over the country and specifically look for someone who knows your situation. So,
And also, another thing that I think is great is if you do talk to somebody at FPAC and they determine through that conversation that maybe they're not the right fit for you, they will go to the forum and they will say, "Hey, this is somebody who's looking for this kind of advice in this kind of arena. It's not me. How can you help?" And everybody will step in and say, "Oh, that is me," or "I know so-and-so is great at that." So even talking to one FPAC member does get you the opportunity to get access to every single FPAC member.
yeah. Excellent. So before we close out, any final thoughts of advice for anyone who's in the market for a financial planner?
Remember to look for somebody who is, in fact, a financial planner. There is a difference between financial advisor and financial planner. And it's so important to go in saying, what do I want? What am I looking for? As opposed to saying, what do they provide? And do I fit into their box? Start with what's important to me. What kind of support and help do I need? And then you can go to the FPAC directory and say, I think it might be this one. And I get if you don't get it totally right. And what's great is that person is going to help you find the right person with the expertise for you. So again, start with you. Remember that it's really, really important to understand what sort of help that you need. And if you're not totally clear on that, that's fair. think about first and foremost what you want to achieve. And that will help kind of define what sort of support you're looking for.
Fantastic. Julia, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me on here.
And also thank you for the work. It is a volunteer position that I know all too well how much time that can take. So, keep in mind, these are people, in fact, anyone who works there is a volunteer, and it's coming out of passion for the industry. So thank you.
Thank you.
So that was today's Financial Planning for Canadian Business Owners. If you like this podcast, please, now that we're on YouTube, like and subscribe. Apparently that's the thing I got to say now. But if you're listening to conventional methods, remember to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, take care.